get the exact words, which I will in a half second. He paid tribute to what he called the resilience and dignity of the Gazan people in the face of dire circumstances. And I thought that was pretty tremendous on two fronts. Number one, that he was Jewish, Zionist, liberal, and was able to see that and to say it. And it was also a wonderful tribute to the people of Gaza, that in the face of all that carnage and murder and death, they could still receive a self-declared Zionist and Jew with the kind of graciousness that they displayed. So I just think it's inappropriate, not for a moment defending the leadership, but to be harsh and critical about people who have suffered so terribly and yet manage to preserve their resilience and dignity.
The lady here on the left side.
Thank you so much for your enormous contribution tonight and everything you're doing. I just can't say enough in praise of your work and the detail and precision you bring to the facts. I was wondering, actually, I want to pose this as a question because my question really is almost too big to be loading off at the end of this long evening, but it really has to do with the context you've set up with respect to the overreaction to the Goldstone report, and also add another feature to this overreaction, which is that the American Jewish community, the organized Jewish community, now seems to be more fragmented. There are now groups coming forward and operating in synagogues as well as in very traditional communities, saying we don't have to stay, we can criticize Israel, we do want a settlement of this issue, and this government and our government are not leading us in that direction. So with that in mind, though, I think that there really is, haunting all of this talk, is a kind of effort to hold on to the two-state solution at the moment when it is, if it ever were realistic, it's ever more improbable. The West Bank is absolutely destroyed and fragmented, and I like the wording you gave us from Mary Robinson. I would say, from what I've been able to follow on the West Bank, much the same is true. Palestinian society has been, its civilization is absolutely being driven a stake through its heart. I mean, with the roads that connect the settlements, that deprive people of the right to go to see their relatives, etc. So I think that really what is at stake here is the whole question of, is there a basis in international law in your reading and thinking about these problems that goes beyond really the defense of a Jewish state and moves to a notion that this is one society of many peoples, that the principle of the state founded in the privilege of one religion is anathema to democratic tradition. Palestinians in Israel, non-Jewish citizens of Israel, Palestinians in the territories, in the Gaza Strip, are really part of, and Jews in Israel are all part of a territory now that is integrated in fact. These are the facts on the ground. And how do we move to moving the conversation beyond a kind of retreat into this two-state solution, where even if there were two states, it would be a pathetic, not a real state that would be the partner in this process. So I'm looking for something to grasp onto that would provide another route out of this
intractable, what seems like an intractable solution.
But it's a dilemma. Thank you.
Well, a lot of what you say there are one people, that the solution doesn't seem to make sense, and so forth, without going through all the details. I live in New York. Half the people who work there are from Mexico. It's true. The construction workers are Mexican. The fruit and vegetable stands, Mexican. The workers in the building, Mexican. Everyone's Mexican. Half of Mexico lives in the United States. The Mexican economy is dependent on remittances from Mexicans working in the U.S. The United States occupies a third of Mexico. Rationally, does it make sense to have a border between the U.S. and Mexico? But I don't hear people advocating that. I mean, there's a recognition there is a border. A lot of that border doesn't make sense. It really doesn't. I don't think it makes much more sense than the border between a Palestinian and Israeli state. But it's not on the historical agenda right now to eliminate the U.S.-Mexican border. And I don't think it's on the historical agenda right now to create one state between Israelis and Palestinians. The question we would want to ask is, would creating two states push us further away from a desirable outcome, or will it bring us closer to a desirable outcome in the future? And in my opinion, it would bring us closer. We need to end that occupation. If you ask Palestinians what is the first item on their agenda, well, in the case of Gaza, it would be to end the siege, and then to end the occupation, because even if the siege are over, it would still be occupied, Gaza. And I just think we have to think in terms of what's possible, always bearing in mind that whatever goals we achieve, they will be very limited. I hear people say, why can't it be one state like South Africa? As if South Africa were such a big success story. I was in South Africa about 2 months ago. I've traveled a lot. I don't live a cloistered existence. I never in my life saw poverty like I saw in South Africa. It was so shocking. It's just a sight to behold. If I could say the people there lived in garbage dumps, it would be a good thing as compared to how they live. In South Africa, it's literally the case. I talked to Gandhi's granddaughter, she said, and she was in the parliament, she said it's true. In South Africa, the rich are getting richer and the poor are getting poorer. It's almost like a caricature of Karl Marx. It really is true. I don't know why people somehow are under this apprehension that somehow one state is going to make everything perfect. You can have the most horrific forms of injustice within a single state. It doesn't necessarily make things better, or necessarily it would be better than two states. So there'll be one state in Palestine, and the Israeli elite with a handful of Palestinian collaborators will control everything, just like in South Africa. Why is that necessarily better? I find that people want to complicate this question